Welcome to One Fish, Two Fish. This is the lesson, and we're going to be discussing beginnings, endings, how to stack loops in different ways. This song is a satire of a Dr. Seuss song, but I think we could learn a lot about different techniques of arranging and composing. All right, so let's talk about beginnings. Beginnings are really good if you make it easy for the listener to grab on to the main idea of the melody. So I personally like to make beginnings very simple. I don't like to stack everything at once in the very beginning. You could see that it's just, I just have a piano and strings in the very beginning, and it just gives the listener time to understand what's going on. So listen. All right, so that's the beginning, okay? Try again. All right. And so that automatically gives you an idea how the rest of the song is going to go. All right. The ending, it doesn't have to be this way, but I made the ending similar to the beginning, which is in a lot of songs is kind of like that, right? Or like a movie, it might begin or end similarly with similar feelings. Not all the time, but it does happen. So here's the ending of the song. So it's the same as the beginning, but just a couple things have been added and changed just a little bit, just to change the feel. But it still has the same exact feelings. All right, hook, the hook. Okay, in the very beginning, I add a hook, and the hook is the word fish. All right, I just say the word fish once, and I say it kind of weird, but I want people to hear it. So let me find it for you guys right here. I think it's right here. Okay, I'm gonna solo it. So you just hear it, and it draws the listener. The hook is meant to draw the listener in. Fish. Right? That's basically all it is. And then I made the hook even over here. Fish. Right? And then what happens is you hear the word fish over and over again. So fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, black fish, blue fish, old fish, new fish. Right? So that's the hook, right? It's grabbing you. It's this repetitive thing that says fish. All right? And that's a hook itself. A hook can also just be like a melodic thing. So like in Beethoven's symphony, you might hear da 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 da. Right, that's a hook that grabs you in, something repetitive, something that's catchy. All right, let's listen to the song some more, and I'll break down even more things that are happening. Fish. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, black fish, blue fish, old fish, new fish. This one has a little star. This one has a little dog. See what a little fish they are. Yes, some are red, some are blue, some are old, and some are new. Some are sad, some are red, some are very, very red. Good, I'll stop right there. So what's happening is you could see even visually, right? I have all these loops here stacked, and then I change the way they're stacked. So they're stacked in different ways. Here it is all stacked together. Right, now I just have like 3 loops stacked together. I have a synth, a scratchy synth, a piano, and strings stacked. Right, and I even like change the hi-hat. The hi-hat comes in at different spots. All right, so those are just some ideas as far as stacking loops in different ways. All right, let's continue. All right, so there it is, a contrasting section, okay? It could be a melodic contrasting section. It could be a completely different vibe. We have some students like putting a Middle Eastern feel in the middle of their trap songs. So, but the idea is contrast is something different. It pulls you away from what you're used to hearing. This, I actually am using a sound effect to create a section. So you can even see it on the paper here. I mean, on the navigation board here, that I have all these loops, and then all of a sudden I go to almost absolutely nothing, where it's just a fishing boat. And what that does is the contrasting section, what it does is it pulls the listener in, because it's like, oh man, what just happened, right? Something is different. It keeps the listener's attention, All right, a couple other things here. You'll notice that there's vocals, right? And it's very easy to add vocals on Soundtrap. All you do is you literally just do plus, where you go to add a new track, you click plus, and you do voice and microphones, and it says start recording. Right? And you should have headphones on so it doesn't... and you just speak over it, and then that's how you do it. All right? And you just speak over it, and it records it. So if I were to solo this track, you could hear what I just said. And you just speak over it, and then that's how you do it. All right, so that's really all you have to do vocals. But there's a trick. There's a trick with vocals. You can make vocals creative. You could stack them. So I have my first vocal part, which is literally just saying one fish, two fish. Or you could sing the part. Here's the vocals.
Two fish, red fish, blue fish, black fish, blue fish.
All right. And then I start doing backgrounds. And background vocals can take the part in many ways. Background vocals can help enhance what's already being said. So like... let's just listen to this part here.
All red, some are blue, some are old and some are new. Some are sad, some are glad, some are very, very bad.
All right, and then, but I put another track here to change it. Listen.
Some are red, some are blue, some are old and some are new. Some are sad, some are glad, some are very, very bad.
All right, so I have like vocals that are like just different sounding to enhance it. But background vocals doesn't always have to be that way. Background vocals could also like be a call and response. It could add stuff to a conversation. So like here's the green. Look at the green, and here's the orange. These guys are talking to each other.
Some are very, very bad. Some are very, very bad.
So they're like talking back and forth. So there's multiple ways to do background vocals. In a different song over here, the vocals serve a different point. This song, Were They Worthy, right? The vocals, let me see if I could find the part here. The vocals here just emphasize different words of the tune. So let me try to find it here. All right, here we go. So listen. So it's kind of hard to say because I hear it because I'm doing effects, but I'm saying were they worthy. And the other one says get your rage on. But the reason why the vocals are there, it's to enhance what's actually going on in the main line. So here's the main line. I'll solo it. All right, and again, I'm just babbling. This was an example for being able to babble, but the idea is I want to stress the word were they worthy, so I'm adding vocals to stress that word. So again, it's just, it's a commentary. The vocals don't have to just be the same exact part. They could actually emphasize words. They could layer the regular vocal part to make it thicker. They could be contrasting vocals. They could be someone just screaming like yeah, yeah over the part, right? There's so many different ways you could make the background vocals pop out. All right. While we're on this song actually has something called fades. So let me just solo here so you can hear what I'm doing here with a fade. All right, so what happens is that the part actually gets softer. Let me actually find something that may be a little bit more dramatic. Let's try this Brampton piano. All right, and you can see the fade. You could even see it, like it gets softer as it goes. Okay, I'll turn my metronome off so you could hear it better. And what you do to make a fade, all you do is you just grab the top here. You won't see it, but you grab the top and then you just pull it. And you could start, it shows you where you could start getting things softer. Right, and that's how you could also fade a song. So that itself is another way to end the song. So let me just play the ending of the song. You can hear our different parts of where they fade out. Yeah, yeah. Were they? Right, and it's effective. Let's try it again. Right, so that's another way you could create interest in the song, is that as you end it, you're fading away, and so it pulls the listener into the song because it like feels like the song is disappearing, and the listener's like, oh no, don't go anywhere, right? It's also another way to create an ending to the song. So for those of you all who try to do beginnings and endings, that's another way to do it. All right, let's talk about mood, right? How you pick things. How you pick loops or program parts can create a distinct mood. And when we say mood, it's a certain feeling. So like, all right, and that beginning, right? The piano, the timbre is it feels, it's a very kind of soft and like almost feels like a pillowy, like a nice warm blanket kind of timbre. So that already creates a certain mood. I put a lot of reverb on the vocals. All right, and those little sound effects, right, making it echoey and stuff like that, kind of bring this nostalgic mood. Very different from the One Fish, Two Fish. I'm using a lot of stuff that has like distortion. So let me find something in One Fish, Two Fish, right? I have like something called scratchy synth. Let me just solo this. You could hear it. Right? It creates a little bit of an irritated sound. Here's another part here. Right, the second you hear that, it almost sounds like a car alarm, right? Sound. So that has a very different mood. So when you listen to the beginning of this sounds very dark and sinister. Right? And this mood here sounds very reflective. All right? So that itself does create a sense of feeling, a distinct sense of mood. So that's very important as you are composing, to think about how to create that. All right, couple more things before we end today's lesson is how to just like make some random, not random, but make some other parts. Make some other parts to your song. I'm gonna go over here, open a new project in Soundtrap, and I'll enter the studio. A couple of you guys want to just be able to program your own instrumental parts. You don't want to do a loop. You don't want to do a loop in Soundtrap, right? So that's fine. You could go add a new track, and then you could pick like piano, keyboards, bass, whatever. Let's do just guitar for right now, all right? And pick a guitar part, and you'll notice that there's letters here. There's letters here that correspond to the letters on your keyboard, right? And so you could actually program a part. So if I were to record this, right, I could actually play parts, right? So you could listen back to it, right? And even better is if you actually put the metronome on, right? That way, and I would slow down the metronome so you don't hurt yourself here. It's really hard to play. It's really hard to play the keyboard while it's going on. And have a count off. 2, 3, 1. Here we go. right? So that's the part, and you'll notice it recorded what you just played. So that's one way. Right, that's one way you could record instrumental parts over what you're doing. So you could take that and then add a loop underneath of it, right? So say I want to do, I don't know, a drum beat underneath of it. Right, and then I could add it together. Here we go. Right, so those are just some options you could do to make your song interesting if you can't find the loop of your choice. A couple more random questions is some people were asking about panning, like how do you get a shaker to one side, how do you get a shaker to another side. I'm going to do this very quickly using drum beats. I'm going to take a closed hi-hat. All right, and so now I programmed hi-hats. But what I want to do is I could go over here to these the zigzag looking thing here. And if I click on it, it gives me the opportunity to do automation. And if I go to pan, what pan does is it puts it on the right ear or left ear. So what happens if I pull this line up? Listen. Right, so now that's on my right side, okay? And yeah, let's keep it. All right, let me do another automation. Let's put, I don't know, another one on the other side. So I'll do another hi-hat. But I want this hi-hat to be on my left side. Let me make this a little bit different so you can hear the difference. Okay, right now it's just in the middle. All right, and what I want to do is I want to put this, click on that, automation, pan, on the left side. All right, let me solo it so you can hear it. Right, and then here it is together, the hi-hats. You'll hear one hi-hat part on your right side and the other part on your left side. Right, I'll take the metronome off so you can hear it even more. So it kind of creates a very cool sound effect, right? It creates a cool sound effect in the very beginning. So those are some options you could do to make your mix very interesting and also create a little bit of separation in your parts. All right. Just want to address one more question. Someone asked a question about transitions. So how do we do some meaningful transitions? You know, I think it's very subjective. I think you could go from loud to like almost nothing. Right? That's a more mellow song, but I also do it in my loud trap song. So, all right, so that drops there. So that's a meaningful transition. But you could also do transitions using like different sounds. So like, let's say I want to use, in this song, I use a scratching record to get us from the introduction to the next section. Right? And I use a scratch record to get to the next section. You can kind of see it here. Next section. And I also use it at the end. But it's really subtle. So like what happens is if I play it, you might not even notice it. Well, you'll notice it now because I said it, but you'll notice that it helps you get to the next part. All right, here it is again. And you'll hear this, I have this, that contrasting section gets us back to scratch, and you could also do the scratch at the very end. Listen. And that ends the song. So that's another way you could do transitions. I've listened to other songs where they have vocalists sing a vocal line to get from one side to the other. So there's many different ways you could go about making this music. Couple more things. Let's try EQing. Question about EQ. All right, so again, let's add a vocal track. Use headphones, and I'm just gonna talk some random stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, let's listen back to the vocal track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that's the original track. I'm going to duplicate this track. I'm going to mute the first track. And 1, 2, 3, 4. What EQ does is it actually changes the overall sound. You could change the highs and the lows in the middle of the sound. So say, like my voice, 1, 2, by nature is very airy, right? So say I want my voice to come out of the mix a little bit more. I go to this microphone here. I could make it reverb, I could do pan, I could do volume, but I could also go where it says effects, and this already says EQ, but let me just add effects here so you can see where you could get it. You could go equalizer, and say I want it to pop out of the mix more, so maybe I'll bring the mids out a little bit more. I'll bring the mids out a little bit more, and you'll notice that my voice all of a sudden will come out of the mix a little bit more. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Okay, so versus the original. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. Okay, versus 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. So that could be very helpful as far as if I want a specific voice to pop out of a song, I could do that. You could EQ the highs or lows. There's a lot of things you could do to make something interesting. All right, next. Last topic is some people want to talk about how to sample. So, Library of Congress posted this recently. It's called Citizen DJ, and there's a whole bunch of loops that you could. How do you get out of here? There's a whole bunch of loops you could get into Citizen DJ. You could get into, and you could get these samples and add them. So let's go here, for example, variety, sound, stage, recordings, and motion pictures. But you can see there's a lot of other topics, all right? I'm going to go to browse and download, and let's just hear some stuff.
I take pleasure in introducing to you Oren and Drew, both.
All right, and these samples could be effective for like a beginning of a song.
Laska used to ride on a mouse gray mustang.
All right, so let's
I take pleasure in
Sure, let's do that one, okay? That one like starts off with static. We could use that static for something. It also has this like vintage sounding voice, right? So I'm going to hit download, and then I'm going to automatically save the file. And it'll be in my downloads folder. All right. Now, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Soundtrap, and I'm going to open a new track. But rather than selecting these instruments, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where it says import file. It's in the very bottom over here. So I'm going to hit import file and browse. Click browse. I'm going to go over to downloads, and I'm going to try to find what I just downloaded. Let's see what I just downloaded. Here we go. Vaudeville.
I take pleasure in introducing to you Oren and Drew.
Cool. All right. So then I click open, and you'll notice that it automatically brings it to the track.
I take pleasure in introducing to you Oren and Drew.
All right. So now I could use this sample anywhere in the song. I could use it as the beginning of a song, but I could also like cut and paste it. So like say I wanted to take this, and let me just duplicate the track so that I don't mess up the original. Mute it. Say I want to like just use the a certain section of it.
I take pleasure in introducing.
Here we go.
Take pleasure in introducing. Take pleasure in introducing to you. Pleasure in introducing to you.
All right, so let's say I want pleasure in introducing to you. Say I just want that to be repeated, right? I could copy it, right? That would be Command-C or Control-C, depending if you have a Mac or PC for copy, and then Command-V or Control-V for paste. And you can make this actually happen in different parts of the song. All right, well, how does this like actually happen in a real-life setting? All right, here's a collaboration where I sampled the Queen, and listen.
I'm sure the nation will join me in assuring you that what you do is appreciated.
And there's carrying.
Right? I added that sample over some tracks, and you could hear how I manipulated Queen Elizabeth. I did vocal transformation and stuff over other tracks. Here we go.
I'm I'm sure the nation will join me in assuring you that what you do is appreciated.
And those carrying out essential roles who selflessly continue their day-to-day duties outside the home in support of us all. And those carrying out essential roles who selflessly continue their day-to-day duties outside the home in support of us all. In support of us all. In support of us all. In support of us all.
So just like, manipulating it, I could use vocal transformation, but you could use samples for so many different things. All right, so hopefully that answers a lot of your guys' questions, and looking forward for the next clinic talking about FAQs.